New York State, like every other state, is seeing growth like never before. And it's really important for us as an association to keep the eye on the ball. Quality has to be number one. Doesn't matter how many breweries open, all that matters is that New York State beer is seen as quality. Draft quality plays a really big part in that. The beer has to be clean going into the glass.
One of the exciting things that's happening right now is that the beer consumer is becoming very, very, very knowledgeable. It's very exciting, and they're really beginning to recognize the difference between very, good, fresh local beer and maybe beer that's old or out of code and not as good. They're also starting to recognize the draft line problems that are coming up. If they're spending, the amount of money they spend on craft beer, get the best beer that they can in a pint glass is a real, special kind of thing for any beer drinker. And to ruin it with the last few feet of a piece of plastic pipe is really frustrating, and I think the consumers are starting to recognize that.
If you don't clean, you can have a lot of mold growth in your faucets, on your couplers in the cooler. The bacteria growth also, it can be horrendous. I've seen cases where a faucet has so much mold and bacteria in it that the beer will not even flow through it. Just a lack of cleaning on that system totally. But I've seen couplers that you would go in a cooler and it just looks like a large sponge of mold. You wouldn't even know there's a coupler in there.
A lot of times, if you run into situations where the beer lines haven't been cleaned in a while, it's not uncommon to see odd floaties in a beer. It's not uncommon to have kind of a tart, sour flavor to them. Oftentimes, depending on the type of bacteria that grows in there, it could be a kind of a butterscotchy kind of flavor. There could be a lot of different flavors that come out of it. It could become cloudy when it was supposed to be a clear beer. So a lot can happen in those draft systems, especially if the lines aren't cleaned.
Once we get a final product, it goes through our lab to make sure it meets all the specs, it's where it's supposed to be. We go through a sensory analysis, make sure it's where it's supposed to be. This is the product going to the market. Does everybody approve? Does it taste right? And then you go out into the market and these people aren't cleaning their lines. It just ruins everything. And it's so easy. I feel like it's just so easy and such an easy thing to do. That's why it's important.
To become a certified draft establishment, the steps we've taken, we get our lines clean every 2 weeks, which is very important to us, very important to our guests, because the brewers take so much time developing these beers, we want to make sure the quality is 100% coming out of our lines that are kept clean.
A program like this is important to make sure that for the Brewers Association that the customers are getting what they're looking for. A good beer connoisseur is going to know you're taking care of your system, and they're going to be repeat customers for you. In the long run, they'll probably be referring people to you. So it's a good program all the way around.
Here's the clean beer.